2 interceptions in a single practice, and suddenly everything the Cleveland Browns front office has been trying to convince themselves about this quarterback competition has completely fallen apart. It happened on day 17 of training camp, and nobody who was actually standing on that sideline could look away. Deshaun Watson stepped under center, forced 2 unforced picks that easily should have been 3, and left the entire fan base wondering why this is even being labeled a competition. Meanwhile, on the opposite end of the field, rookie Shedeur Sanders was calmly putting on an absolute clinic, tossing back-to-back scoring drives, processing coverage in a fraction of a second, and carrying himself with the poise of an established franchise leader. The coaches saw it, the media saw it, and the defense definitely felt it. Before we peel back the layers of what really went down behind closed doors, drop a one-word comment right now. Type WATSON if you think the contract keeps him under center, or type SHEDUR if you believe the rookie has officially taken over. Lock in your answer right now, because what happened on that field changes everything we thought we knew about this season.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
The energy surrounding day 17 of Cleveland Browns training camp was supposed to be routine, a standard installation day focused on tightening up red zone packages and situational 2-minute drills. Instead, it turned into the most revealing few hours of football this organization has seen in years. From the very first team period, the atmosphere felt tense, and everyone watching from the bleachers to the media deck could tell that the script had flipped. When you watch an NFL training camp, you expect your veteran quarterback, a guy making historic amounts of guaranteed money, to step onto the grass with absolute command. You expect him to dictate tempo, manipulate safeties with his eyes, and demonstrate complete mastery over the scheme. But that is not what happened in Cleveland. What unfolded was a complete systemic breakdown that left reporters looking at each other in absolute disbelief. Watson lined up with the first-team offense, and from the jump, the rhythm was entirely out of sync. He was holding the football, hesitating through his progressions, and looking completely uncomfortable against a defense that he should know inside and out. Then came the first catastrophic mistake. On an intermediate route, Watson stared down his target, completely ignoring the underneath coverage, and fired a football directly into the chest of defensive back Trey Avery. It was not a tipped pass at the line of scrimmage. It was not a wet ball that slipped out of his hand, nor was it a miscommunication where a receiver broke off his route. It was a clean, read-and-react turnover caused entirely by poor field vision and late decision-making. Avery did not even have to make an acrobatic dive. He simply read Watson's eyes, stepped in front of the throw, and took off the other way. If you are the kind of football fan who loves the unvarnished truth and demands real film breakdown instead of mainstream media talking points, take a second right now to subscribe to Gridiron Ground. By joining the Gridiron Ground community today, you ensure that you never miss the real, behind-the-scenes stories that define the league, because we bring you the cold, hard facts every single week. The sideline went dead quiet after that first interception, but the nightmare was far from over. Just a few drives later, Watson was flushed from the pocket during a simulated 3rd and long. Instead of throwing the ball into the dirt or finding a check down to salvage field position, he panicked. He drifted out of structure, wound up his arm, and floated an erratic prayer across the middle of the field into double coverage. It was an interception waiting to happen, and the defense capitalized immediately. In fact, if the defensive backs had not collided on another contested throw later in the afternoon, we would be talking about 3 separate turnovers in a single afternoon of work. That is not just a bad day at the office. That is a glaring sign of a passer who is actively guessing instead of reading what the defense gives him. And while Watson was unraveling, the real shockwave was building on the other side of the field. To truly understand why these mistakes are setting off massive alarm bells inside the building, you have to look beyond the basic box score and examine the mechanics behind Watson's play. What we saw on day 17 is not an isolated bad afternoon that a coaching staff can just brush off as training camp rust. These are deeply ingrained mechanical flaws and bad habits that have repeatedly surfaced on game film over the last 2 seasons. The most alarming issue is Watson's total reliance on breaking the pocket to his right. When his first read is taken away, instead of climbing up into the pocket and resetting his base, Watson immediately drifts toward the right sideline. His shoulders open up, his vision tunnels entirely onto one half of the field, and his footwork disintegrates. When a quarterback scrambles right with poor mechanics, he loses the ability to drive the ball with his lower body. Watson is trying to compensate for that lack of base by using pure arm strength, throwing short-armed passes back across his body into the middle of the field. In the NFL, that is the single most dangerous throw you can possibly make. Safeties are trained from high school to hunt that exact ball because it hangs in the air, loses velocity, and gives defensive backs all the time in the world to break on the pass. NFL scouts who watch this film are not wondering if opposing defenses can exploit this habit. They already know they can. Defensive coordinators across the league are literally salivating at the prospect of putting a spy in the box, taking away the initial read, and forcing Watson into these panic scrambles where he consistently gifts the ball to the secondary. Furthermore, his internal clock appears completely broken. In modern offensive systems, the ball has to come out on time, specifically within 2.5 to 3 seconds. If you hold the ball longer than that without a designed deep shot, you are actively sabotaging your offensive line. Watson is routinely holding the football for 4 or 5 seconds in practice, drifting into the path of defensive ends and forcing contested throws into collapsing windows. It is the style of play from someone who has lost faith in his pre-snap keys and is struggling to trust what his eyes are seeing post-snap. He is hesitating on slant routes, double-clutching on out routes, and failing to throw receivers open with anticipation. When a veteran quarterback loses his anticipation, physical arm talent alone cannot save him. And the contrast between Watson's hesitation and the decisive rhythm happening across the field made the entire practice feel like a changing of the guard. While Watson looked lost in his own head, Shedeur Sanders stepped onto the field and put on an absolute clinic in modern quarterback play. The rookie did not just manage the offense, he completely commanded it. From the moment he broke the huddle in his designated periods, the tempo of the entire unit changed. The offensive line played with more urgency, the receivers ran sharper routes, and the ball was coming out on a string. Sanders was not out there trying to create unnecessary circus plays or hunt highlight reel moments. He was
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
operating the scheme with precision, scanning through his progressions cleanly, and delivering the football with pinpoint accuracy into tight coverage windows. His performance inside the red zone was particularly eye-opening for the coaches. In situational football near the goal line, the field shrinks, coverage tightens, and a quarterback has to be willing to make high-level anticipation throws. Sanders did exactly that. On one standout sequence, he identified a single high safety look before the snap, looked off the middle defender, and dropped a gorgeous touch pass into the corner of the end zone for Blake Whiteheart. It was a throw that demanded perfect trajectory and touch, and Sanders placed it where only his target had a chance to make a play. On the very next drive, he demonstrated his command of situational football by orchestrating a flawless 2-minute drill, finding Denzel Boston on a timing hitch precisely at the first down marker to keep the chains moving and manage the clock without burning unnecessary timeouts. If you are enjoying this deep, unbiased breakdown of the Browns' quarterback situation and want to stay ahead of every major roster battle across the league, make sure you hit that subscribe button for Gridiron Ground. True football fans know that Gridiron Ground is the ultimate home for deep film analysis, exclusive roster updates, and raw gridiron breakdowns you will not find anywhere else. What truly separated Sanders from Watson on day 17 was his poise under duress. When the pocket collapsed around Sanders, he did not panic, and he did not turn his back on the secondary to sprint toward the sideline. Instead, he subtly shifted his weight, stepped up into the pocket, kept his eyes locked downfield, and delivered accurate throws with defenders in his face. Even when plays broke down completely, Sanders displayed the kind of improvisational maturity that coaches dream about, knowing exactly when to tuck the ball and run, when to throw it away, and when to create outside the numbers. He threw touchdown passes in both of his primary scrimmage periods and walked off the field with undeniable swagger. But the biggest statement of the day did not come from Sanders himself. It came directly from the offensive coordinator. Following the conclusion of practice, offensive coordinator Todd Monken stepped in front of the microphones, and what he said sent shockwaves throughout the entire facility. In a league where coaches normally speak in carefully crafted platitudes to protect their players, Monken made a direct comparison that nobody saw coming. He publicly compared Shedeur Sanders' instincts and playmaking ability to none other than former league MVP Lamar Jackson. For an offensive coordinator of Monken's caliber, a man who has coached at the highest levels of both college football and the NFL, and has worked directly with championship-caliber passers, dropping the name of Lamar Jackson is not something you do casually. That is elite-level praise that carries massive weight inside that locker room. Monken broke down the concept of the quarterback's internal clock and the delicate balance between taking sacks and creating explosive plays. He explained that with certain generational talents, you have to give them the freedom to hold the ball a fraction of a second longer, because their natural instincts outside of structure create more positive plays than negative ones. Monken explicitly stated that he sees that exact same playmaking trait in Sanders. When a coordinator says that publicly, he is sending an unmistakable message to the front office. He is saying that he trusts Sanders to run the offense dynamically, extend plays with his legs, and make intelligent decisions when the primary play design breaks down. It is an endorsement of Sanders' football instincts over Watson's rigid, struggling execution. The irony here is painful for the Browns. Watson was originally brought to Cleveland because the organization believed he could be that dynamic, out-of-structure playmaker who could carry a franchise on his back. But right now, Watson looks like a shell of that player. He's attempting to force plays outside the pocket, but without the quickness, timing, or vision that once made him dangerous. Sanders, on the other hand, is executing those out-of-structure plays with natural ease and calm. When your offensive coordinator is openly praising a rookie's instinctual similarities to an MVP while your veteran starter is tossing multi-interception practices against his own defense, the hierarchy of the quarterback room begins to fracture. Yet, even on a day where Sanders looked like a superstar, an unexpected controversy involving one of Cleveland's top receivers threatened to steal the headlines. As impressive as Sanders was on day 17, the practice was not without drama, and most of it centered around wide receiver Jerry Jeudy. Throughout the afternoon, Jeudy put together one of the most frustrating performances of camp, dropping multiple routine passes thrown directly into his chest by Sanders. These were not difficult catches in heavy traffic or balls thrown behind him. We are talking about clean, on-target timing throws that hit Jeudy square in the numbers, only for the ball to bounce off his hands and fall harmlessly to the turf. On one specific red zone rep, Sanders delivered a perfect strike on an in-breaking route, and the ball literally slipped through Jeudy's hands with zero defenders contesting the catch. The optics of the situation.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
Were so glaring that Browns fans on social media immediately erupted with wild conspiracy theories, claiming that Jeudy was intentionally dropping passes to sabotage the rookie quarterback. The speculation online suggested that because Jeudy has a closer relationship with Watson, or because he prefers a veteran presence under center, he was deliberately underperforming with Sanders running the huddle. While there is no verified evidence inside the building to prove intentional sabotage, the fact that fans and analysts are even entertaining the idea shows how toxic the environment around this offense has become. Rumors and chatter aside, the reality on the film is much simpler. Jeudy is currently a wide receiver who looks completely devoid of confidence and rhythm. This is not the first time Jeudy's focus and hands have been questioned on a national stage. NFL legend Steve Smith famously called him out on live television for his lack of consistency and elite effort, and days like this only reinforce that criticism. But what mattered most on day 17 was how Shedeur Sanders responded to his receivers' blunders. A lot of young quarterbacks would have thrown their hands up in frustration, yelled on the sideline, or stopped looking in that receiver's direction entirely. Sanders did none of that. He showed zero visible frustration, clapped his hands, lined up for the next snap, and immediately went through his progressions to find his other targets like Blake Whiteheart and Denzel Boston. Sanders proved that he possesses the emotional stability required of an NFL leader, refusing to let another player's struggles derail his own momentum. Beyond the physical throws and tactical execution, the psychological contrast between these two quarterbacks on day 17 was impossible to ignore. Football is a game of energy, momentum, and body language. When players step onto the field, their teammates feed off their demeanor, especially at the quarterback position. Throughout the entire afternoon, Shedeur Sanders carried himself like a man who genuinely loves being on a football field. Every time he scrambled for a first down or delivered a touchdown strike, he had a massive smile on his face, celebrating with his offensive line, hyping up his receivers, and bringing an infectious energy to the entire sideline. Sanders plays with the kind of joy and fearless swagger that naturally rallies a locker room around him. Deshaun Watson, on the other hand, presented the exact opposite image. He looked like an athlete carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders, operating with a heavy, robotic demeanor, as if he was simply trying to survive the practice without making a catastrophic mistake. He was playing not to lose rather than playing to win, and that lack of joy was palpable to everyone in attendance. When a quarterback is second-guessing himself, his teammates can feel it, and the offense naturally tightens up. Watson's body language was slumped. His interactions with his skilled players looked strained, and his overall presence lacked the commanding authority expected of a quarterback on a historic contract. The divide became even wider when Watson addressed the media after practice. When asked directly about the fans booing his mistakes and the rising external criticism, Watson repeatedly answered with a cold, dismissive tone, saying he simply does not care. While some might interpret that as mental toughness or blocking out external noise, to the fan base that pays hard-earned money to support the team, it sounded completely indifferent and disconnected. Sanders, by contrast, thrives on the crowd's energy, welcomes the pressure, and looks hungry to prove himself every single day.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
One quarterback sounds tired of the scrutiny, while the other is actively embracing the fight. And that psychological reality brings us directly to the massive financial problem looming over this franchise. The Cleveland Browns are currently caught in one of the most brutal dilemmas in modern sports history, and it all boils down to the concept of the sunk cost fallacy. When the front office traded away a treasure chest of draft picks and handed Deshaun Watson a fully guaranteed $230 million contract, they tied the fate of the entire organization to his success. Admitting that a rookie fifth-round pick is outplaying your $250 million investment is a pill that almost no front office in professional sports wants to swallow. It exposes executive miscalculations at the highest level and forces ownership to acknowledge that their boldest gamble has failed to yield the expected results. Because of that massive financial commitment, the coaching staff and front office will naturally feel immense pressure to protect Watson. They will continue to tell the media that the competition is ongoing, that practice reps are being evaluated holistically, and that veteran experience is crucial for regular season success. They will look for every possible metric to justify keeping Watson as the starter, hoping that he will magically rediscover the elite form he displayed years ago. But an NFL locker room is a pure meritocracy. Players do not care how much money a guy has in his bank account. They care about who gives them the best chance to win on Sunday, earn their own contract incentives, and compete for a postseason run. If you appreciate fearless sports journalism that is not afraid to break down the tough financial and political realities of the NFL, take a moment right now to subscribe to Gridiron Ground. By hitting subscribe on Gridiron Ground, you become part of an elite community of real fans who want deep analysis, raw locker room breakdowns, and unfiltered coverage of every major storyline across the league. When players see on tape every single day that the young rookie is moving the ball, scoring touchdowns, and protecting the football while the high-paid starter is throwing multiple interceptions, the locker room dynamic inevitably shifts. If the coaches force-feed Watson into the starting lineup despite him being clearly outplayed, they risk losing the trust of the entire defensive unit, a defense that works relentlessly only to watch turnovers give short fields to opposing offenses. The front office is running out of excuses, and the upcoming schedule is about to put this entire quarterback competition under an inescapable national spotlight. The Browns have reached a point where they can no longer hide behind closed-door practices and controlled team drills. The upcoming joint practice and preseason matchup against the Buffalo Bills will serve as the ultimate litmus test for both quarterbacks. Sean McDermott's defense in Buffalo is not going to take it easy on Cleveland. They boast complex zone coverages, disguised blitz packages, and elite defensive playmakers who will ruthlessly attack any quarterback showing hesitation or poor ball security. Joint practices against an opposing team simulate the intensity and speed of a real regular season game far better than any intra-squad scrimmage ever could. This is the exact environment where Watson's flaws could be laid bare for the entire football world to see. If Watson steps onto the field against the Bills' defense, continues to scramble erratically to his right, and throws careless interceptions into traffic, the coaching staff will have zero room left to defend him. You cannot hide behind excuses about unfamiliar schemes or miscommunications when an opposing first-team defense is dismantling your passing attack in broad daylight. On the flip side, this joint practice represents a massive opportunity for Shedeur Sanders. If Sanders can step in against Buffalo's starters, operate Monken's offense with timing, make smart checkdowns, and avoid critical turnovers, he will make it nearly impossible for the coaching staff to deny him the starting job. The preseason game on Saturday will only amplify this reality. Preseason games are where backup narratives become permanent realities in the eyes of the public and the locker room. If Sanders lights up the scoreboard under the lights while Watson continues to look out of sync, the front office will be forced to make a franchise-altering decision. They can either continue to protect their financial pride by sticking with Watson and risking a lost season, or they can embrace reality, start the better football player, and hand the keys of the offense to Shedeur Sanders. The countdown has begun, and every single snap against Buffalo is going to carry monumental consequences for the future of the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are standing at a critical crossroad that will define the trajectory of this franchise for years to come. Day 17 of training camp stripped away all the media spin, public relations statements, and contract justifications, exposing the raw reality of where this team stands. Deshaun Watson is struggling under the weight of expectations, battling mechanical breakdowns, and turning the ball over at an alarming rate, while Shedeur Sanders is playing with elite composure, natural playmaking instinct, and the undeniable fire of a true starting quarterback. The front office can try to delay the inevitable, but football never lies. You can pay a player whatever you want, but production on the gridiron is the only currency that truly matters. The joint practices and preseason tests against Buffalo will deliver the final verdict, and the choice before Cleveland could not be clearer. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to Gridiron Ground, leave your final predictions in the comments below, and stay tuned as we track every single snap of this historic quarterback showdown.